Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Tom Sherry. Whitney is on assignment tonight. As coronavirus cases soar in Spokane, the local agency that's responsible for responding to the disease remains quiet amid the surge. Last week, the board of Spokane Regional Health District fired its health officer, Dr. Bob Lutz. Well, since then, new daily case records have been broken several times.
And the citizens of Spokane still have yet to hear from the man who's been appointed as Dr. Lutz's replacement. To break down everything that's happened so far and where we're at now, here is our Casey Decker.
It started with a board meeting on October 29th. In a closed executive session, concerns about Dr. Bob Lutz's performance were raised. On October 30th, a shocking press release. It read, quote, "Yesterday, the Spokane County Board of Health asked Spokane County Health Officer Dr. Bob Lutz to resign." But it quickly became apparent that wasn't exactly what happened. In a press conference that same day, district officials repeatedly evaded questions about whether Lutz had resigned or been fired.
Is he even still considered an employee? But just not the health officer?
As of today, no, he is not.
They also wouldn't say who was fulfilling Lutz's duties as health officer. That day, Spokane recorded 152 cases, a new second high. Several board members called for a special meeting to hash out publicly whether or not Lutz was and would remain health officer. October 31st, Lutz broke his silence. He hired a lawyer and announced he was not resigning and that it was unclear even to him what his status with the district was. Protesters gathered outside the health district offices to show their support for Lutz.
Thanks, Dr. Lutz. We support you.
November 2nd, Lutz releases a statement saying Administrator Amelia Clark fired him and took his SRHD laptop and other materials on the 29th. This would be illegal as only the board can fire the health officer and must do so publicly. November 4th, a public records request reveals that board member Brian Beggs had concerns about the actions taken by SRHD leaders over the past few days. He notes that Clark should not have revealed anything that happened in executive session, that any decision on Lutz's employment would have to be made publicly, and that it was his understanding Clark would simply be presenting Lutz with an improvement plan, not termination. November 5th, the board holds a special meeting. Clark unveils a litany of personal and professional misconduct allegations against Lutz.
It is clear to me that Dr. Lutz is unwilling to make the necessary changes to be a successful part of the Spokane Regional Health District team moving forward.
Lutz and his lawyer argued the allegations were trivial compared to the importance of having a competent professional in the role of health officer during a pandemic.
You will find that they in no way constitute a reasonable basis to fire me.
The board voted 8-4 to fire him. The same night, they unanimously approved a new interim health officer, Dr. Frank Velasquez, despite only one member seeming to know anything about him. November 6th, Spokane records a new all-time high 183 cases. In the days after the meeting, several board members as well as SRHD employees expressed concern over the decision and the messy, hurried process. On November 7th, Spokane shattered its record, nearly doubling it with 348 new cases. On November 9th, the State Board of Health decided to investigate multiple complaints made by citizens against Clark for possible violations of state law in the process of forcing out Lutz.
I think that for the community, it's important to get our best sense of transparency here in terms of what really happened.
That day, Spokane exceeded 200 new cases for only the second time. And as of today, we still have not heard from the new health officer about how he plans to handle it. Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
In the last 4 days, Spokane County has recorded roughly 850 new coronavirus cases, and the surge in cases isn't unique to Eastern Washington.
Cases are surging all across Washington, in fact, prompting state health officials to issue a stern warning today. That warning: don't socialize outside your immediate household without wearing a mask or social distancing. If you do, keep that circle to no more than 5 people per week. Let's get right to our Regina on tonight. And Regina, is the state planning to put more restrictions into place?
Yes, Mark, so they are. Today, the Washington Board of Health said that if people don't take this warning seriously, there could be mandatory restrictions in the future. They said we're all feeling this fatigue of this pandemic, but if we stay vigilant for the next few weeks, it will pay off. Dr. Kathy Lofi says cases started to steadily increase back in early September, which lasted through October. But she added what's the most concerning right now is the accelerated growth during the last 2 weeks, calling this time, the highest numbers that we've seen since the pandemic began. Now, cases in both eastern and western Washington is increasing, but eastern Washington is seeing a particularly high increase of hospitalizations, especially with Thanksgiving almost here. They're asking for people to limit their social interaction, especially as those holidays arrive.
We cannot afford this in Washington state. Any in-person gathering is risky right now, both for the health of those that attend that gathering and because it can further accelerate the spread of the pandemic. This includes Thanksgiving. The safest Thanksgiving is one celebrated only with the people in your immediate household.
Now, Fehrenbach, who you just heard there, along with many doctors on the board, recommended people should stop social gatherings at least in the next couple of weeks, emphasizing Washington cannot risk another surge of cases after Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, if cases don't get any better, they say they'll have to make changes which could affect the entire economy of the state. There is a long-term ray of hope, though, which is the COVID-19 vaccine. We've all talked about it. That could be available in the beginning of next year, but there's still a lot of testing that still needs to be done. Live here in the newsroom tonight, Regina on. Mark, back to you.
All right, Regina, thank you very much. We want to switch gears to weather here for a moment. Most of the region woke up to a blanket of snow this morning. Tom, I know we had about an inch and a half at my house on the South Hill. Are we going to see more snow in the coming day?
Yeah, a couple inches. I'm a couple blocks away from you. I think I got a half inch more than you. What's going on there?
I guess you win, my friend.
I win. Well, I was shoveling. That was good exercise today. Look at this. We still have a winter weather advisory in effect through early tomorrow morning, not in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, but to the east of the Lake City and to the south of us in the Washington, Idaho, Palouse, the Panhandle, or at least north central Idaho, portions of the Panhandle, and of course all of western Montana. We're seeing more and more snow falling to the south of us, and we're below freezing right now. So everywhere that we got snow overnight and this morning, that all melted, and that is going to make for very icy roads, especially the side streets and the parking lots. Let's not fall, at least this early in the season. Here's the rain that we're seeing from I-90 south, and as it tracks farther to the east, it actually begins to change over into snow. That's why we look for some dangerous travel conditions down in areas of southeastern Washington and north central Idaho. Closer view shows some showers or a rain-snow mix right now down towards the Colfax area. 195 and 95 in Washington and Idaho heading south. They're going to be very slippery tonight, so please be careful if you're headed to Moscow, Idaho, or down to Pullman. We'll look for icy roads with a low of 24 tonight. 38 the expected high tomorrow. It'll start out cloudy, but I think it's a dry day, and I think we're going to see some sunshine towards the afternoon hours. For the weekend, it looks wet. I think it's going to be more rain than snow, though. It might be a rain-snow mix early on, but with a daytime high of 45, looks pretty good. And then Sunday will be dry, but Sunday night, another weather system moves in. That will bring us more rain and snow showers. Out checking on the roads right now is our very own Thomas Patrick in the Storm Tracker mobile vehicle. Thomas, what are you seeing out there now?
Yeah, hey there, Tom. We made our way from downtown back up to the South Hill. We're on High Drive here, and you'll have to excuse how dark the camera looks. We're kind of at the mercy of some of the streetlights or lack thereof. But I have noticed here on the South Hill, there is a lot more snow piled up on the sides or towards the edge of the road. So if you look very closely, kind of at the right side of the road here near where the white line is, there is snow still on the grass and had been plowed towards the curb. So that, if it does any more melting, could come back onto the roadway. So we'll be cautious for any icy roads tonight and tomorrow morning. But really, most of the roads have been fairly dry for this evening. So we're hoping that they stay that way for tomorrow morning's commutes. Guys?
Fingers crossed for that one, Thomas. Thank you very much. Well, shelters in Spokane are being flexible to increase their capacity. The city of Spokane says an additional 105 low barrier spaces are now temporarily available for adults. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares where they are along with the latest on the Cannon Street Center.
Right now, the city of Spokane's renovations to the Cannon Street Center are wrapping up. It's essentially hit the reset button and is currently reviewing applications for a new operator at the facility. It's expected to select that operator later this week. The city's seasonal shelter contract with Jules Helping Hands at the Cannon Street Center ended in April. It reopened in May as a regional health shelter site, with local city and county agencies operating the building. Then Cannon closed again at the end of May for planned renovations. It is expected to reopen this month as a seasonal shelter with 80 spaces under a new operator. Currently, there are already 835 spaces available citywide. 530 of those spaces are low-barrier shelters. Council President Brian Biggs believes the city's response to shelter spaces this year is an improvement from last year.
I think it's more organized, and we're organized ahead of time, and we have these abilities to flex when we need to.
Existing shelter operators recently flexed capacities to temporarily offer 105 additional low-barrier spaces. Outreach teams and public safety staff are distributing bus passes to anyone needing a ride to a shelter.
We still don't really know what the demand is. You know, along with COVID came an economic slowdown, and yet housing prices and rents are still high, so there's more people homeless, we think, than ever before.
City spokesperson Brian Coddington reports several spaces have still not been used. Last week alone, he says nearly 300 family spaces remained available. Looking ahead, though, Council President Begg says the city is expected to launch a public dashboard for tracking available beds. This will also help police officers know which shelters to direct people to. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.